energies in our lives. When people go, oh, I don't have enough for myself, that's because you're demonstrating that to the universe. So when I look at karma, I don't look karma as a punishment. I look at karma as a refinement, as a way to reflect into your refinement. Like when I was a kid, and that malfunction in thinking that you're not good enough or you haven't done enough, right? That doesn't make sense. You're opening up an idea or a suggestion where you're creating an awareness of some kind of lack when you are not made from lack. You are made from powerful love energy embodied in a physical form made of matter, where you get to use your consciousness and your words and your actions to move energy in this life. Well, it's really, really powerful. And if you really want to learn how to really honor that energy and that power and not fragment your energy, we have an amazing webinar tonight. Just in case, I'm just going to drop that in there. If you haven't signed up for the webinar, and remember, all my webinars, all the healing temples are really inexpensive so that you can afford it and you can come in. And if you just, even if you can't make it tonight, and if you just sign up, you'll still get the video so you can watch it and really up level your energy. But let's go back to that. And you can do that by just going on my page, go to the link tree, and then find the webinar. We have great webinars. If you've never been to my webinar, webinars are great. And you can come up on stage and we do healings, and we do all kinds of great things in the webinars. So besides that, let's go back to what I was saying. So you are a being who has infinite potential, right? But your potential is only as good as you're willing to see it is, right? Because it doesn't matter. Let me just pin that. How do you do that? Pin that. It doesn't matter if you are waiting for someone to tell you how amazing you are. People can tell you 1,000 times, 10,000 times. What matters is when you actually say it. When you actually have that relationship with yourself where you say, you know what? You are a really amazing person. You are really beautiful. And another thing too is that we're not here to self-diagnose our emotions, Like when an emotion comes up of fear or insecurity or lack or doubt or any of these things, we're not supposed to self-diagnose it and be like, oh, I feel fear. Oh, I feel lack. Oh, I feel doubt. And then do nothing about it. We're supposed to engage our soul. That means when an emotion comes up, you're supposed to engage it. You're supposed to say, hey, I see you're scared. I'm here with you. I get it. I love you and you're going to be okay. You see, your being is not seeking to hear it just from other people, which is nice if you're talking to people who are high vibe and lit and part of the lit leaders, because then they're going to tell you things that are empowering. But you don't want to speak to people who don't see themselves and don't love themselves, because then you're going to get the information that they can only bring forth based on their evolution. You want to direct your energy to yourself. That's what it means to be self-actualized. That's what it means to step into that union with yourself, right? Someone says, what is your opinion about karma? So to me, karma is about you understanding how your behavior and your energy, right? And how you are affecting yourself, because how you affect yourself is how you affect others, right? If you're a person who's giving love to yourself and acknowledging that love for yourself, acknowledging what a great person you are, acknowledging that you are creating that well-being for yourself by acknowledging yourself, you're going to create that for others. I notice the more I take care of my needs and myself and what I do, the more I'm there for my wife, I'm there for my kids, my bonus kids, I'm there for my family, I'm there for the community. But when I don't take care of myself, I have really nothing to give. And the balance between that, if you come into any of my other webinars, we talk about the balance of energy. Like if you're giving energy to, like, let's say people's conversations that are negative, okay, how much of that energy are you giving, right? And are you giving energy to the news? Are you giving energy to, like, wherever you put your attention, you're giving up energy. And if you're giving more energy out than what you're taking in, you're creating imbalance, and that imbalance will then affect you. And it will affect you in many ways. It can affect you financially, it can affect you health-wise, it can affect you in many different ways, right? And so what we have to learn, and notice I said we, because I'm not here as a guru, I'm here as Shaman Durek, who's here to share love with you, to remind you that you are also a leader and a master in this lifetime. What we have to learn is to be able to keep that balance of taking in more for ourselves, meaning nurturing ourselves more, acknowledging our emotions more, pampering ourselves more, eating the right foods, thinking the right thoughts, feeling the right feelings, and doing it so much, then we give out. Because if we give out more than we take in, it creates an imbalance and a deficit, and then we begin to suffer. Because we send a message to our spirit that we are not worthy of things that are in balance to what we're giving out. And so we go into lack, we go into scarcity, we go into fear, we go into abandonment, we go into all of these very disruptive energies in our lives. When people go, oh, I don't have enough for myself, that's because you're demonstrating that to the universe. So when I look at karma, I don't look karma as a punishment. I look at karma as a refinement, as a way to reflect into your refinement. Like when I was a kid, I went through different types of abuse, right? But when I was in that abuse, I asked Spirit, why am I going through this? And then I saw my life in Egypt as a pharaoh, and I saw the things that I did, and I saw the people that, that got hurt because of the choices that I made in the way I ruled, because I ruled with a very iron fist. I ruled with a no compassion, no mercy, like straight to the point, like protect my kingdom and protect myself from people who might want to overthrow me in my kingdom. So showing any form of weakness to me at that time was a form of putting my family at death, right? So I always thought death if I showed weakness. That's all I thought about. So every time I did anything, it was with an iron fist. So in this lifetime, I had parents who also had the iron fist. And I had to realize that the reason why I was going through what I was going through was because I had to learn not to be like them again in this lifetime. So in this lifetime, I decided to be soft. Not soft where I'm weak, where I let people walk all over me, but soft in meaning what I call soft power, which is power through love, right? Power through love. And power through love is yes, I'm still clear in who I am, and I'm not letting people dictate to me who I am and what I represent. They can have their own opinions and perceptions as they choose. I decide who I am. No one decides that for me. But at the same time, soft power is also being kind and loving and nurturing and vulnerable and showing my inner child, showing my playful side, showing the places where if I feel, emotionally upset, I'm not going to hide it. If I need to cry in my wife's arms, I'm going to cry in her arms, but still be a strong man coming out of it, because I can go there. I can go to those places, right? I can access the soft power without needing to dominate or control or dictate or tell people, oh, you're doing this wrong, or you didn't do enough spiritual things in order to be spiritual. Like, I don't believe in this idea of spiritual authority. I believe that spirituality, it should be like a playful experience, a journey, an experience of wonder and awe and delight, and like, wow, I didn't know I had these gifts, and like, oh my God, I didn't know I could talk to these spirits. Oh my God, I didn't know I can move energy like that. All that kind of stuff. Not this like authority or what I call holier than thou kind of spirituality, which is I'm the all-knowing shaman and you are the blah blah blah. Like, I don't believe in that, and I never will. And that doesn't support our evolution, and it doesn't support leadership in the right way, because leadership in the right way is not leading the people, it's building leaders amongst the people. That's how a leader is able to truly be triumphant, is not by me being up here and you being down here. That doesn't work. Hierarchy doesn't work. What supports the growth of our planet is leaders amongst leaders and masters amongst masters, honoring each other for our individuality and our uniqueness. You see, and I think that's so important, because we look at a rainbow. My sister was saying the other day, she's like, I don't understand how people don't love a rainbow, And I love what she said. She was like talking to me on the phone, but people don't love a rainbow. I said, no, many people love a rainbow, but she goes, no, but they don't. And I go, what do you mean, Angelina? And she said, well, rainbows are the representation of all of the amazing people and colors and cultures and sizes and shapes and small noses, big bodies, small bodies, all kinds of people who are attracted to the same sex, who are not of the same sex, who love each other, love however they want to be, you know. God created that rainbow, and people see a rainbow, they go, oh, I love a rainbow, but they don't love the uniqueness of humanity, the differences, the nuances that are so differently and in all of its beautiful array of colors and energies. Soul sexual, exactly. And the thing is, it goes beyond these boxes that we've been put into, these limitations that we have been brought into. Have you ever practiced Buddhism? I have. I used to have a Gohanzen, and I used to chant Nameho Renge Kyo and going to the Buddhist temple. It was a lovely time in my life when I was younger. And so when we create these boxes, when we create these checks and these checks and balances of humanity, where we exclude one people over the other, we're not appreciating the rainbow. We're not appreciating the gifts. You know, we don't do that to the trees. There's all kinds of trees, and we're not trying to cut down a certain amount of trees and keep the ones that we like because those ones are looking more dominant than the others. We don't do that, but we do it to human beings. You know, it's very interesting. I find that we have to gain more compassion on this planet. We have to get out of the places where we are not embracing and accepting all of God's creation, right? And we have to acknowledge that the people who are operating in that field of consciousness, right, are operating there because they're afraid to leave that space. They're afraid to leave that space because they don't see or understand themselves. And how can you accept someone else if you don't understand yourself? You know, this is a very interesting thing that I always like to look at is like, you know, I was coming on this realization recently, how I got so many people of my own skin color writing me and putting me down for, you know, me being me, making fun of me, you know, for being soul sexual, and that my wife would choose a soul sexual man, and does she know, and like, you know, saying all these very interesting things. And I thought, what happened to people honoring excellence? And, you know, especially in my own culture, why aren't they honoring Black excellence? Where's the people who are coming forward and honoring Black excellence, you know, appreciating and honoring their own people instead of putting them down? And what I realized is that people put each other down because they're constantly putting themselves down. And so when they don't see the power and excellence within themselves, they cannot see the excellence in another person. And I always say it's better for you to be friends with people who see their own excellence than to be with someone who doesn't, because if someone doesn't see their excellence, those are the people you have to be careful of. You really do. People say it's not my color, it's my actions. But it's funny when people say that, because my actions are only things they've read in the press. They've never actually heard me actually say it. They've never actually, like, someone mentioned something today to me about saying that their imprints in women's vaginas are something that someone said in the press about me. Or the fact that I was in prison, which I've never been in prison. Like, just really interesting things people write about me in my Wikipedia that are so untrue. I did talk about, you know, women having imprints, but it was after being raped or having sex with a partner that was aggressive, and they have emotional imprints, but not a real imprint. But of course they had to bring like a doctor, and they had to bring like someone in to like basically clarify in the press that I was talking about some scar in the women's vagina. I thought that was very interesting. You know, we have to, again, realize that a lot of people get their opinions from the media, and that's how the media controls the people. That's how they get you angry. That's how they rile you up, because all they have to do is keep, putting that energy out there. Yeah, when people say I post about my ego. So let me explain to you what I mean by ego, because people saw a post saying I'm all about my ego. I am about my ego. I am. I don't believe what people say about the ego, but I don't believe I need to clarify what I mean so people can understand, because sometimes I think people don't understand what I mean. So when I say that I have a big ego,